This is Chapter 2, Unit 4. We're going to talk about a stem and leaf display. This is a preferred method of statisticians because original scores can be obtained. Remember, in a grouped frequency table, you cannot determine original scores. However, even though they're preferred for statisticians, they're not easy to read by the average person, so they're not typically used. For example, most people can read and understand a grouped frequency table in a newspaper article, but they would not understand a stem and leaf display. Here's the method of how we develop a stem and leaf display. First off, we split every number or score into two parts. Think in terms of a plant. The last digit is the leaf. Any other digits make up the stem. So if you had a number 82, 8 would be the stem and 2 would be the leaf. If you had a number of 113, 11 would be the stem and 3 would be the leaf. The leaf is always one digit. The stem could be as many digits in front of it as need to be for the problem. So here's an example. You have some data over here and you want to make a stem and leaf display. First off, you list the stem, the leading numbers, in ascending or descending order. It doesn't really matter. You'll see it done both ways, even in your book and in this PowerPoint. In this case, you notice that this is different from the frequency tables because we typically always list those in descending order. So look at your data first. You'll notice that the lowest numbers are in the 30s and the highest numbers are in the 90s. So you want to have a stem that ranges from 3 all the way down to 9. So you would, for your stem and leaf display, your first column of numbers go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you choose to go the opposite order from 9 down to 3, that is just as fine. And then the leaf portion of this is in no particular order. You'll notice that these numbers across from the 3, you see the 2 and 3. But look across from the 5, you see 6, 2, 7, 9. No particular order at all. You typically just put them in the display in whatever order you choose to read the data. For your data table above, maybe you read across. I'm going to read down for the first column. So the first number in our data set is 83. So I go down to my stem and leaf display and I find the 8. And then just across from it, I put the 3 because I'm splitting the number in two parts. The 8 on the left, the 3 on the right. Okay, the next number in my data up there is a 62. Again, I'm going to split it. I'm going to find the 6 for the stem and I'm going to go across to the right and I'm going to put a number 2. I'm going to do this for every single score until my stem and leaf display is complete and includes all of the data points. So let's keep with the same data set and say you want to go backwards and you have a stem and leaf display and you want to see what the original scores were. This is really easy. So let's look at the first stem, which is a 3 in the graph below the stem and leaf display. Look across from it. You see the numbers 2 and 3. So to go backwards, you first use the stem of 3 with the first number of 2, and that gives you 32. And then you would use the stem of 3 with the second number 3, which gives you 33. So the two original scores in the 30s would be 32 and 33. Let's look at the scores in the 70s. First, you locate the 7 in the stem and look at the leaf, how many numbers it has. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different numbers. So there were 7 scores in the 70s. If we went back to the original scores, we would simply read it as 71 would be the first score. And then we would read it as 76 for the second, 74, and so on. So here's your learning check problems. Try to solve these problems. You can stop the video and then start it back when you're ready to see the answers. So for the scores shown in the following stem and leaf display, what's the lowest score in the distribution? Well, this stem and leaf display ranges from the 90s down to the 50s. So the 50s, of course, would be lower. So we'd start with the 5 in the stem. Let's look at the leaf. Which would be the lowest number in the leaf? Well, 1 would be lower than 4. So 51 would be the lowest score in this distribution set. All right, the next question says, how many people had scores in the 80s? Well, you see the 8 in the stem. Look at the leaf. There are 3 numbers there, so 3 people had scores in the 80s. And if you wanted to know what those exact scores were, you would read it as 89, 84, and 85.